elephant in the room is that black hole between the composition of these texts and our earliest textual witnesses. Because when scholars talk about textual criticism and how sure we can be and how few verses are unsure, they're talking about based on the manuscripts that we have. Here are the readings that are unsure. And those readings are the readings that are found in the existing manuscripts. Because many textual critics think you should not do any conjectural emendations. In other words, you should only propose a reading if we have a manuscript that contains that reading. And this is an enormous assumption. This is assuming that every single word that was written in the original autographs of the New Testament is somewhere preserved across the thousands of different manuscripts, that there is not a single word that was composed by a New Testament author writing an original manuscript that was lost in that black hole between the original composition of the text and our earliest textual witness. That is a dogma. There are no data that support that.
If one looks at this graphic from earlier in the video, you'll see that it's 5 different families or lines of New Testament manuscripts. So, if there were these changes in the texts as alleged, why would all 5 families of texts, excepting for spelling differences and other minor changes, basically be the same? Note that these families of texts are from geographically diverse areas, namely Egypt, Italy, Palestine, Turkey, and Iraq. That's a lot of ground to cover traveling by foot, much less control or influence in the first 4 centuries. So, any idea that there was some person or group that controlled or influenced the copying of the New Testament would have to explain how that happened. The next problem is, what theory best explains the essential agreement of all the New Testament extant manuscripts? 1. The copyists were very careful not to make changes, except for minor slips of the pen, from the start. 2. Copyists did make changes to the text including core doctrines up until the 2nd to 4th century and then stopped. For 2, I'd say this is not based on any data but on assumptions. And furthermore, I'd ask, what was the catalyst for the stoppage? If copyists felt free to make any and all changes, what made them change course? Was there one person or group that said stop, or did all the individuals decide to stop on their own? Each option seems implausible. Also, consider the fact that of all the discoveries of papyri in the last 150 years, not a single newly discovered reading has supplanted the readings that were already known. The fact that the papyri, collectively covering about half the New Testament, offer no new authentic readings argues against the probability that the original autographic wording of the New Testament authors has been lost. It seems the black hole argument defenders assume that a lack of data for their position, no evidence of major changes, means that these changes must have or most likely occurred. This is a logical non sequitur. This is the conundrum of the black hole argument defenders. If they allege that some group controlled the copying of the text, then they need to explain how that happened over such a large geographical area. And who was this unknown group? If they allege that changes were made by individuals, then how can they explain the essential agreement in the teachings of the Bible by individuals spread over a wide geographical area? The best explanation of the current available data is the standard in all fields of inquiry. And the best explanation of the New Testament manuscripts is that those who took the time, effort, and expense to produce a copy were careful to copy it accurately, from the original authors down through the centuries.